A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
You know, Corn, this whole show runs on GPU compute, and we wouldn't be here without Modal.
Seriously. And that's what powers all our text-to-speech. Everything you're hearing right now.
They're an AI infrastructure platform. Developers use them to run GPU workloads in the cloud with zero infrastructure headaches.
If you're building anything with AI, check them out. Modal.com. We have all been there. You've got a house full of people. You want the music playing in the kitchen and the living room, so you fire up your expensive Wi-Fi multi-room system and nothing. Or maybe the kitchen is 3 seconds behind the living room, creating this bizarre acoustic echo chamber that makes you feel like you are losing your mind. It is frustrating because Wi-Fi is supposed to be the high bandwidth savior of home audio, yet it often feels like it is held together with digital duct tape and hope.
It is the network congestion tax, Corn. You are trying to stream high-fidelity audio over the same pipe that your smart fridge is using to check the weather and your neighbor's kid is using to play video games. It was never really designed for the kind of microsecond synchronization that multi-room audio demands. Think about what happens when you click play on a Wi-Fi system. The data has to travel from your phone to the router, get processed, sent out to speaker A, then speaker B, and then those speakers have to talk back to the router to confirm they got the data. If the router is busy handling a 4K Netflix stream in the den, those confirmation packets get delayed. That's where your 3-second lag comes from.
Which is exactly why Daniel sent us this prompt today. He is looking at the landscape and asking a really provocative question. If Wi-Fi is such a headache for synced audio, why aren't we using Bluetooth for the whole house? He wants to know if we can reverse the traditional model. Instead of one pair of headphones connecting to two phones, can we have one Bluetooth manager that broadcasts to every speaker in the house? Basically, can Bluetooth finally grow up and become a legitimate multi-room protocol?
I love this because it forces us to look at how much the underlying tech has changed in just the last year or two. And honestly, we should probably mention before we dive into the guts of this that today's episode is actually powered by Google Gemini 1.5 Flash. It is helping us navigate the messy world of piconets and scatternets today.
I hope it's better at syncing scripts than my old Bluetooth speakers were at syncing audio. Because, let's be real, Herman, the history of Bluetooth audio is, well, it's a bit of a disaster. If I tried to connect to more than one speaker 5 years ago, the whole thing would just cough and die. So, let's start with the why. Why has this been so hard? What is the fundamental wall that Bluetooth hits when you try to make it do whole house audio?
The wall is actually a very specific architectural limit called a piconet. In the world of classic Bluetooth, the stuff we've been using for 20 years, you have a master-slave relationship. One device is the boss, and it can technically have up to 7 active slaves. But here is the catch, that master has to manage the timing for every single one of those connections individually. It is a connection-oriented protocol. Imagine a juggler. Juggling 2 balls is easy. Juggling 7 is possible for a pro. But if you ask that juggler to make sure every ball hits his hand at the exact same millisecond while also talking to each ball individually, that is where it breaks.
So, the manager Daniel is talking about is basically that overworked juggler. If it's trying to send a high-quality audio stream to a speaker in the bedroom, 1 in the bath, and 2 in the lounge, it's not just sending data, it's maintaining 4 separate high-stakes conversations simultaneously.
Precisely. And in classic Bluetooth, each of those conversations uses a different frequency, hopping pattern. They are constantly jumping around the 2.4 GHz spectrum about 1,600 times per second to avoid interference. If you have 4 speakers, the master has to coordinate all those jumps perfectly so the audio packets arrive in the right order at the right time. If one speaker misses a packet because a microwave turned on or someone walked past with a metal tray, the master has to decide, do I retransmit and make that speaker lag behind the others, or do I just let it skip? Usually it tries to retransmit, and that's when the train wreck happens. One speaker is playing the chorus while the other is still finishing the first verse.
That explains the echo effect. But Daniel mentioned reversing the model. We usually think of multipoint as one headset, two sources, like having your earbuds connected to your laptop and your phone at the same time. He wants one source, many headsets or speakers. Now, I've seen party mode on some of those rugged outdoor speakers. You hit a button and suddenly 3 JBLs are playing the same thing. Is that what he's talking about? Or is that just a clever hack?
Most of those party modes, like JBL's old Connect Plus or Party Boost, were proprietary hacks. They usually work by having one speaker act as a primary receiver from your phone and then rebroadcasting that signal to the other speakers using a hidden secondary Bluetooth link. It was a relay race, not a broadcast. And because it was a relay, the latency added up. If you had a chain of 5 speakers, the last one would be noticeably behind the first. It's also incredibly fragile. If the second speaker in the chain dies, the third, fourth, and fifth all go silent too.
Like a digital game of telephone, where the last person gets the message a second late. That's not a multi-room system, that's just a very long, very laggy speaker. But Daniel's prompt feels like it's pointing towards something more robust. He's asking if the model can be fundamentally changed. And from what I've been reading about the 2025 and 2026 hardware cycles, it feels like the industry finally listened to him.
They did, and the answer is something called Auracast. This is the killer app of Bluetooth LE audio, which was part of the Bluetooth 5.2 specification. It completely throws out the juggler model we just talked about. Instead of a master having individual conversations with 7 slaves, Auracast turns the transmitter into a radio station.
A radio station? So it's just screaming into the void and hoping someone is listening?
Sort of, but in a very sophisticated way. It's a connectionless broadcast. The transmitter, your Bluetooth manager, doesn't actually care how many people are listening. It could be 2 speakers, or it could be 2,000. Because it isn't maintaining individual conversations or checking for acknowledgments from every receiver, the overhead is gone. It just broadcasts the audio packets with a very precise timing stamp.
Okay, hold on. If it's not checking with the receivers, how does it handle interference? In the old way, if a packet dropped, the speaker could say, "Hey, I missed that, send it again." If Auracast is just a one-way street, doesn't the audio quality just tank the moment someone walks between the transmitter and the speaker?
That's where the LC3 codec comes in. LC3 stands for Low Complexity Communication Codec. It is much more efficient than the old SBC codec we've used since the early 2000s. It can deliver higher quality at half the bit rate, which means the packets are smaller and more robust. But more importantly, it uses something called isochronous channels. This allows the broadcast to send the same data multiple times or use forward error correction. The receiver can reconstruct the audio even if it loses a significant chunk of the broadcast.
So it's like a radio station that says every sentence twice, just in case you missed a word. But wait, does that mean it uses more power? If it's sending everything twice, isn't that going to drain the battery of the manager or the speakers?
Actually, no. Because the LC3 codec is so efficient, the radio is active for much shorter bursts than it would be with the old SBC codec. It's sprinting to send the data and then resting rather than jogging constantly. This is why it's called Bluetooth Low Energy audio. You get better range, better sync, and better battery life simultaneously. It sounds like black magic, but it's just better math.
This sounds like a dream for Daniel's Bluetooth manager idea. You could have a central hub plugged into your TV or your PC, and it's just outputting an Auracast stream. You walk into the kitchen, turn on a speaker, and it tunes in to the kitchen radio stream. No pairing, no searching for devices, no spinning wheels of death on an app.
And that is the reverse multi-point reality he's asking about. We're moving from managing connections to managing broadcasts. In fact, some of the management software coming out now, like ARIA Manager, treats these broadcasts like Wi-Fi SSIDs. You could have a living room broadcast and a whole house party broadcast. Your speakers just choose which one to subscribe to.
But let's poke some holes in this, Herman. Bluetooth is notorious for its range. If I've got a thick brick wall between my manager and the speaker in the garage, is Auracast really going to hold up? Wi-Fi can mesh. It can hop from the router to an extender to the speaker. Can Bluetooth do that? Or are we back to the line of sight? Problems of 1999.
This is one of the most surprising things about the newer specs. While we think of Bluetooth as a 10-meter tech, Bluetooth LE Audio and Auracast are designed to push much further. In an open space, we are seeing ranges up to 100 meters. In a home, it's obviously less, but because the LC3 codec is so much more resilient at low signal strengths, you can actually maintain a high-quality stream through walls that would have choked an old Bluetooth 4.2 connection.
100 meters. That's 30 feet. That's plenty for most houses. But it still doesn't solve the mesh problem. If I have a massive house, I can't just add another manager to extend the range easily, can I?
You actually can, but it's more of a repeater model. You can have an Auracast receiver that also acts as a retransmitter. But honestly, for most homes, a single high-power Auracast transmitter, a dedicated hub, is going to be more reliable than a messy Wi-Fi mesh. Think about it, Wi-Fi is chatty. Every device on your network is constantly talking back and forth to the router. I'm here. Do you have mail? Here is a packet of data for Netflix. That chatter creates collisions and latency. Auracast is silent. The receivers don't talk back. They just listen. It's a much cleaner use of the radio spectrum.
I love the idea of silent audio. It feels more polite. Like, I'm just going to play this music, and I don't need to know if you're listening. Just be there if you want to be. But what about the hardware? Daniel's idea of a Bluetooth manager sounds like a specific device. Does this exist as a standalone thing yet, or are we waiting for Apple and Google to put it in our phones?
It's already happening. There are devices like the Aventry Harmony A1 or the ME Audio Connect Hub. These are basically Auracast gateways. You plug them into your existing stereo or TV, and they become that central manager. And on the receiver side, you're seeing it in the 2025 and 2026 speaker lineups from JBL and Sony. If you buy a new speaker today, there is a good chance it has a broadcast button on it. You press it, and it scans for an Auracast stream.
Wait, so I don't even need an app? I just walk up to a speaker and press a physical button and it joins the party. How does it know which party to join if my neighbor is also broadcasting?
That's the clever part. When you press the button, the speaker scans the airwaves for available Auracast advertisements. If it finds more than one, it usually picks the strongest signal, or you can use a simple app on your phone once to assign that speaker to a specific broadcast ID. But once it's assigned, it remembers. You turn it on, and it just starts playing. It's trying to bring back the simplicity of the analog era. No more, wait, let me open the Sonos app. Oh, it needs an update. Okay, now let me group the speakers. Wait, why is the kitchen not showing up? You just turn the thing on and it hears the music.
That is a massive UX win, but I have to ask about the security side of this. If I'm broadcasting the best of the 90s at high volume to my whole house via Auracast, can my neighbor with a pair of Auracast-capable headphones just tune in and listen to my music while he's mowing the lawn?
By default, potentially. Auracast supports open broadcasts, which is what they'll use in airports or gyms. You walk into a sports bar, see 15 TVs, and you can just tune in to the audio for TV number 4 on your earbuds. But for home use, there is a public broadcast edit or a security key system. You can set a 4-digit PIN on your manager so that only authorized speakers can decrypt the stream. It's basically like a password for your audio.
Okay, so it's not a pirate radio station for the whole neighborhood unless I want it to be. That's good. I don't think my neighbors need to hear my secret obsession with sea shanties. But let's go back to the Wi-Fi killer argument. Wi-Fi systems like Sonos or AirPlay 2 have one big advantage. They can stream different things to different rooms. I can have jazz in the kitchen and a podcast in the office. Can a single Bluetooth manager do that? Or are we stuck with one stream for everyone?
That is the current limitation of a single transmitter setup. A standard Auracast broadcaster usually handles 1 or 2 programs or channels at a time. If you want true multi-zone audio where every room is playing something different, you would technically need multiple transmitters on different channels. Now, the spec allows for this. You could have multiple broadcasts on the same physical chip, but the hardware we see today is mostly focused on the whole home or party use case.
So it's a sync killer, more than a zone killer. If you want everything perfectly in sync across 5 rooms, Bluetooth via Auracast is probably going to beat Wi-Fi 9 times out of 10 because it avoids the network stack entirely. But if you want a complex matrix of different audio sources, Wi-Fi still has the edge because it has the raw bandwidth and routing logic.
Think of it this way. Wi-Fi is a high-speed internet connection for your audio. Bluetooth Auracast is a dedicated private radio network for your house. If you just want the music to just work without stuttering, the private radio network is a much more robust engineering solution. And we should mention that Auracast isn't just for music. Think about gaming. If you have a group of friends over for a LAN party, you can broadcast the game audio to everyone's headsets with zero lag. Wi-Fi could never do that without a massive, expensive server setup.
It's interesting that Daniel noted hearing aids as the killer app for this. I hadn't thought about that. If your manager is broadcasting the TV audio and Grandpa can tune his hearing aids directly into that stream while the rest of the family listens to the soundbar, that solves a massive real-world problem. No more? Turn the TV up, I can't hear it. No, it's too loud for the rest of us.
It's a game changer for accessibility. And because it's a standard, those hearing aids will work with the TV at home, the announcement system at the airport, and the microphone at a lecture hall. It's a rare moment where a consumer convenience feature multi-room audio overlaps perfectly with a critical medical need. In fact, many audiologists are saying Auracast is the biggest leap forward for the hard of hearing since the invention of the digital hearing aid itself. It replaces the old teleloop systems that were expensive to install and sounded terrible.
So, to answer Daniel's question directly, yes, the model can be reversed, and it has been. We've moved from point to many, or one to many. But what about the manager part? If Daniel wants to build this today, what does his manager look like? Is it a Raspberry Pi with a specific Bluetooth dongle? Is it a dedicated hub?
If he wants to go the DIY route, he's looking for hardware that supports the LC3 codec and the broadcast source role. Most modern Android phones, anything with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 or later, can actually do this natively now. You can go into the settings and start an Auracast broadcast. For a permanent home setup, a dedicated USB dongle like the Creative BTW5 or a hardware hub like we mentioned earlier is the way to go. The software side is still a bit early adopter though. You might have to fiddle with some command line tools if you're trying to do something complex with a Linux-based manager.
Knowing Daniel, he's probably already got a GitHub repository open, trying to compile a custom driver for a Bluetooth 5.4 chip. But let's talk about the average person for a second. If I go into a big box store today and buy a speaker, how do I know if it will work with this manager model? Is there a specific logo I should be hunting for?
Look for the Auracast logo, but also check for Bluetooth LE audio support. Some manufacturers are a bit slow to put the Auracast branding on the box even if the hardware supports it. If it says it supports Bluetooth 5.3 or 5.4, there's a high probability it could be updated to support the manager model Daniel is talking about.
And that's the key. This isn't a maybe technology anymore. It's baked into the core of how the Bluetooth Special Interest Group sees the future. They realized that the pairing model was a dead end for the smart home. It was too fragile. By moving to this tuning in model, they've basically admitted that the way we've been using Bluetooth for 20 years was wrong for anything bigger than a pair of headphones.
It's Digital Radio 2.0, and when you look at the stats, it's hard to argue with. LC3 is 50% more efficient. Latency is halved. And the fact that it doesn't touch your Wi-Fi router means you can have 80 speakers in your house and it won't slow down your Zoom calls by a single kilobit. That separation of concerns is something we talk about in software all the time, but we rarely see it applied so cleanly to hardware. Imagine your smart home devices, your cameras, your laptops, all having more breathing room on the Wi-Fi because the audio has moved to its own lane.
So, takeaways for Daniel and everyone else listening. If you are tired of your Wi-Fi speakers dropping out, don't just buy a bigger router. Look into the Auracast ecosystem. It's the reverse Bluetooth model we've been waiting for. It's more reliable, it's easier to set up once you have the right gear, and it actually scales.
Just keep in mind that we are in the transition phase. You might need some Auracast receivers, little dongles, to retrofit your older dumb speakers. But once you have that broadcast layer set up, it's like living in a house with its own private soundtrack that just follows you from room to room. It's almost like the background music in a video game. You step into the kitchen, the music is there. You step into the hallway, it's there too. No gaps, no echoes.
Without the lag. That's the dream. No more EQ lasagna, where different rooms are overlapping in weird phase-shifting ways. Just clean, synced audio.
And honestly, it makes me wonder if Wi-Fi audio will even exist in 5 years for anything other than high-end multi-channel home theaters or uncompressed 24-bit lossless audiophile setups. For casual, multi-room listening, which is 95% of the market, Bluetooth has finally caught up and, in many ways, surpassed its older brother.
Well, I for one am ready for the radio revolution in my living room. I'll take a physical tune-in button over a spinning loading icon any day of the week. It feels like we're finally getting the technology we were promised back in the early 2000s. It just took us 25 years to get the math right.
I think we all would. It's about getting the tech out of the way so you can actually enjoy the music. No one wants to be the IT support for their own dinner party.
That's a perfect place to wrap this one. Daniel, thanks for the prompt. It really highlights how a tech we all thought we knew has completely reinvented itself under our noses. This has been My Weird Prompts. A huge thank you to our producer, Hilbert Flumingtop, for keeping the gears turning behind the scenes. And a big shout out to Modal for providing the GPU credits that power our script generation and processing. They make this whole human-AI collaboration thing possible.
If you want to dive deeper into the technical specs of Auracast, or if you want to see a list of the specific Snapdragon chips that support this today, head over to myweirdprompts.com. We've got all the links and the full RSS feed there so you never miss an episode.
And if you're enjoying the show, do us a favor and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It actually helps more than you'd think in getting these weird topics in front of more people. We read every single one, even the ones that tell us we talk too much about codecs.
Until next time, I'm Herman Poppleberry.
And I'm Corn. Keep sending us those prompts. We'll see you in the next one. This episode was produced using Google Gemini 3 Flash. Text-to-speech by Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show.